In a world where zombies, ghosts, serial killers, and vampires all exist, it's Nico, Brian, Mike, and Dustin, and they are all that stand between you and the films that could end the world. Welcome to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Review Podcast. Just want to thank all our fans and listeners. I really appreciate all the support. Before we get into tonight's film review, I just want to give a quick shout out to our website, don'tgoouthere.com. Brian's done an excellent job designing it, and if you ever want to listen to any of our episodes or our interviews, definitely check out our website. We've said it many times in the past. We've done several interviews with these horror legends, and it's a lot easier to find them on the website than it is on like iTunes or Spotify. We also have our store. We got some new shirts, some new merch, some new apparel. And we also have Shan's Etsy page attached as well. Her tumblers are selling like hotcakes, so definitely go check those out. Get you one right before summer starts, so you can keep your cold drink in it. We also have like our blog, our think pieces, and the last thing I'm gonna shout out on our website is we have all our social media links on there. We're very active with our fans. We love our fans. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Go follow us, like us, subscribe us on all those platforms. We always interact. We love chit-chatting with you about horror. We answer all of your questions or read your comments on the air. So definitely interact with us on social media. We really appreciate that. And we're going to shout out our Patreon, what we call Blood Donors. We have the monthly reoccurring kind. And I fully acknowledge how tough times are economically for everyone. I mean, hell, just look around you. Everything's tough. But none of that money goes into our pockets. And we really, really appreciate any help that you give us, because it goes right back into the podcast, not into our pockets, just to make that clear. And we also have a one-time donation set up. If you're a big fan of a movie and you want us to review it, we have those options available as well. Tonight we're closing out 2000s theme month with Brother Dustin's pick. You want to announce your pick, brother?
Yeah. So, 2000s month has been fun. A lot of movies that came out, when I was either in high school or graduating high school or whatever. So it's been a fun month. Well, this movie has always stood out to me because I was working the day it released at the movie theater. So this movie released Christmas Day 2005, and I was working at Regal Cinemas at Turkey Creek, Knoxville, Tennessee. And I just remember they sent us some pretty cool marketing for us, like pins to wear on our shirts and stuff, and they looked pretty cool. And so I was intrigued by the movie because it's like, usually if they spin something like that, that means the movie sucks and they're trying to make up for it, or it could be a really good movie that they don't expect to do well, so they're trying to draw people to it. So I watched it, and it's always been one of those movies I kind of I thought was underrated. It doesn't get its appreciation as much as it should, in my opinion. And so this has been on my list to pick for a long time, so what better time to do it than to close out 2000s month?
All right, I'll go next. If you're a listener of our show, if you've been listening for a while, you know that I am bullied by my co-host a lot for not seeing a lot of movies or hating certain decades, which is incredibly false. But there was one weekend a few months back where I told myself I'm going to watch all movies that I haven't seen. I watched Sleepaway Camp, Cabin Fever, and Wolf Creek. And just being honest, the first time I watched Wolf Creek bored me to tears, honestly. I felt like the first half just drags and drags and drags. Upon this rewatch, I still feel the same way about the beginning, but once you get to that 45-minute, 50-minute mark, and then the movie kind of transitions into what the movie's about, big fan of it. Big fan. Love the second half of the movie, the last hour, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
Mick is terrifying. And just like I said last week, and we kind of all felt the same way about Hostel, this movie feels realistic, very realistic, actually, because it is real, because it's based off of true events. It's pretty damn terrifying, but my score will reflect that I just do not like the opening part, but I do love the second half, if that makes any sense. All right, Brian, you're next, brother.
That's funny too, man, because I kind of like the first part a little bit better than the second part. But that tracks. And if I'm not mistaken, this is actually the third Australian horror movie that we've done. right after Dustin's favorite movies of all time, House of Wax and The Babadook.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic.
Yeah, Nico right now is furiously hitting his unmute button to ask why Dustin hates Australian movies, but this is his pick, so what can you do? Anyway, sorry, that's just a little inside joke with all of us. But anyway, I'd never seen this film until Dustin picked it for this review. Ryan Hollinger actually said in his, by the way, if you don't listen to Ryan Hollinger, like he's one of my favorite YouTubers, definitely check him out. But he said in his YouTube review of this, like that, it got a lot of gore porn hate when it came out. I can see that, I guess, but like we talked about a few times this theme month completely. I mean, that definitely places it more in this decade of horror. But to me, this is way more psychological than it is gore porn at all. I mean, there was not that much gore, so we've definitely come a long ways in the last 17 years, I guess. But as far as what I think goes, overall, I think it's okay. I mean, it is something that it's not something I'm going to watch over and over again. But I mean, it was good. I'm glad I watched it this time. I think the movie lives and dies with John Jarrett's Mick, who I said earlier was like a fucked up Crocodile Dundee, also named Mick, by the way. And I like how they kind of played into that and just took it all into account as well. It works most of the time. Now, the way it's shot, I'll get into that more, but I thought the cinematography was the star of this movie. Like, I thought it was shot brilliantly. So, positives and negatives throughout, but I think my score reflected it, that I thought it wasn't bad at all. I'm glad I watched it.
There you go. I was waiting for that cinematography word since Mike wasn't here. Big shout out to Mike. Celebrated his wedding all together. Hope you checked out our mailbag episode. That was a lot of fun. Any more opening thoughts before we jump into the scene by scene?
I'm ready.
No, let's do it.
I got one more qualm with the movie, but I'll wait till the rating to get into that. But honestly, I really don't have a lot of nitpicks, but the one nitpick I have is pretty big. But let's jump into this scene by scene. This was a fun movie. The film starts with text on screen saying the following is based on actual events. 30,000 people are reported missing in Australia every year. 90% are found within a month. Some are never seen again. We now see waves crashing on a beach in Brome, Western Australia, 1999. We see Ben is at a car dealership buying a used car. Don't do anything I wouldn't do, the salesman tells him, and Ben drives away. We now meet Liz and Christy. They're at the beach filling out cards, like postcards. Ben has the car at a mechanic shop now getting it looked at. The two women are going to be on a 3-week trip in a car with Ben. Ben arrives and they are all excited and he helps load up the food and he asks, "Where's the booze?" They joke about no booze and being in bed by 9:30. Next thing you know, they're all drinking and partying. Ben has liquor thrown all over him and jumps into the pool, and others proceed to join him. They all laugh when they say it's past 9:30. Next morning, a woman wakes up and leaves the bed with Ben and almost wakes him up, knocking bottles around. She messes her bed up and grabs a toothbrush. Liz wakes up on the beach with 3 other people and takes her shirt off and goes for a swim in the ocean. They load the car up and take off for their trip. Ben says he has the worst taste in his mouth. Title card. Opening credits roll as we get candid shots of the 3 looking at the map, sightseeing, and having fun in the car. Ben's playing guitar for the ladies as Liz drives. The 3 are outside camping now and enjoying a fire and looking at a star-filled sky. Ben tells a story he read about, but Christy calls bullshit on it. It's about UFOs. Next morning, they're packing up camp. Ben asks who wants to drive. More nature shots as the 3 keep driving. Liz sees a sign that Emu Creek is the last fueling station for quite a while, and she makes a turn towards it. They get to a motel/gas station at Emu Creek. They all exit the car and stretch. Ben puts gas in the car and Liz freshens up in the bathroom. Ben now begins to vlog and a gas station attendee named Graham appears. Chrissy says she thinks Liz has a crush on him and she thinks the feeling is mutual with him. Some guys at a table check out Liz and Christy and ask Ben to come over. They have a question. They ask if they'd be interested in a gangbang. They all laugh and Ben gets angry at them. But he doesn't keep the same energy once the dude stands up and reveals how big he is. Graham tells them to stop being a dick and they leave. They pass a sign saying Wolf Creek National Park, 120 kilometers away. Liz says she hopes it doesn't rain, and Ben says it's going to be cold tonight, really cold. They make it to Wolf Creek Crater and are excited to hike. They grab some supplies and begin their hike. They make it to the meteorite crater and are in awe of it. The three stop under an umbrella as it rains and eat a snack and take a smoke break. Liz wanders off saying, "Be back soon." Ben joins Liz and they take a seat and admire the sights. The two share a kiss together and are smitten. Now they begin to make out and laugh. The three make it back to the car and they notice all their clocks aren't working. Ben guesses it's around 7. Liz goes to crank the car, but now it's not cranking up. Ben asks her to pop the hood, probably the battery terminals. Ben can't figure out what's wrong. Looks like we might be spending the night, he says. All right, Brian, that's the opening set of scenes I got. Go ahead, brother.
Now, I mean, I will agree with you some, Nico, here that the beginning does drag on a little bit. But something I will say is something I'll just want to reiterate what you said earlier in your opening. The movie feels real. And yeah, I'll definitely say that more throughout for different reasons. But the introduction of these characters, they feel real. And credit that to director, producer, writer, fucking all around utility player, Greg McLean. During each scene, apparently he would actually even do a couple of takes sticking like rigidly to the script, and then he would allow the actors to improvise. And apparently, there's a ton of this where the improv script was used. I mean, the scene where Ben and the mechanic checking the car was one of them. You can definitely tell because that felt real. And most of the party scenes, I think, were as well too. The campfire fart scenes, you could have left that out later on, but that was an improv. And I know I brought this up, I brought it up the way this movie was shot in my open, but I wanted to explain some more here too, because first of all, I'm a sucker for handheld movie. Now this wasn't quite found footage, but it was enough handheld that it was, that it sucked me in, and again, to me, it just makes it feel real. That's like the third time I've said real, I think, in this whole section here. But and another example of like it was this beautiful shot the next morning after the party. Like it peeks through a cracked door with everything blurry in the background. That shot through the hole in the kangaroo crossing sign when they drive by, and all the shots through the dirty car windows of like the terrain, like where you're seeing stuff as they do. I thought that was absolutely fantastic. Um, also, is it just me, or did Kesty Marassi, who plays Christy, she's a striking resemblance to Christina Applegate to me. I legit thought it was her at first. Now, I admit it was very slow here to start out, but I did appreciate the character development. I don't mind slow and boring if I know I care about these characters, and the movie does that. It does. It also sets you up kind of with this dread because, something bad is coming. And, even as they pull up to that creepy motel, the atmosphere gets dark pretty quick. You can kind of feel it a little bit. It actually had some strong vacancy and definitely Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibes to me. Also, shout out to Ben, who won me over with the William Shatner impression in the camcorder and the improv lightsaber stunt in the next set of scenes. Go ahead, Des.
Yeah, no, I knew that you would love those. But so first of all, I like the I guess not the title sequence. Was it the prelogue? Like I like how they tell us this is based on true events, and just the ominous music that they're playing during this, and the font style that they chose. Everything about it does a good job of setting the tone of where we're going to end up. It all feels very ominous and creepy, and and letting us know 300,000, was it 300,000 or 30,000? 30,000 people a year disappear. 90% are found within the first month. Like that's great statistics there to let you know that that's 10%. That's still a lot of people that never are heard from again. Outside of that, man, this set of scenes is such a 2000s scene. Like everything from the party to the fashion to the cinematography choice and style that they went with. Like this really feels like it's of its era. So I can appreciate that a lot. To me, the creepiest guy in this entire movie is Graham at the gas station. Holy shit, man. That little creeper just popped out of nowhere with that stupid little smile on his face. And I don't know. He just gave me the willies. I did not like him at all. Now, when they go inside the gas station diner there at Emu Creek, the whole misogynistic assholes at the table scene, that felt a bit unnecessary. Like that didn't do anything. The only reason I say it was unnecessary is because you almost expected one of those guys to end up to be the villain. Now, maybe that's intentional. They wanted you to be unsuspecting of who it actually is, but to me, it would have worked just fine if that guy who asked him if they're down for a game bang or whatever, if he comes back around later and he is Mick, he shows up, says, sorry about that before. I was just being stupid with my friends. You kids need help, and lures them in and suckers in it. Like, I think that, I don't know. It felt unnecessary, especially because I can see your point, Nico. This first half of the movie does kind of drag, but I can also see your point, Brian. It does a good job of making us care about these characters, though. Too often we've bitched about that, how I don't care about these characters. What movie, we just did a movie where we didn't care about the main characters. What was that?
Hostel.
Yeah, Hostel. Yeah. So I think this one does a better job of letting us at least care about these people. They seem like, and it also is due to writing. They don't seem like genuine shitheads like the characters from Hostel. Like these seem like just good kids on a fun trip. But whatever. So then when they get to Wolf Creek, I thought that's holy crap. What scenery, right? Like, just to get there and see the wonder that is the Wolf Creek crater. I thought that was cool, but I got to tell you, I got to be honest with you. If I got to park and then walk 3 hours to get to I'm not going. I'm not going, man. I'm not walking for 3 hours, especially since, like, what's stopping me from driving further? A shitty fence? No, fuck that. I've always had a problem with that since I first watched this movie. Just drive closer, man. But whatever. And then I will say, it is creepy with the watches stopping working and the car not working. Like, what's going on there? And I gotta be honest with you. Did they ever explain why the watches didn't work?
No, they don't. I just assumed it had. I assumed it had something to do with the meteor, and like it was kind of I guess so. Coming back to this, I guess the car didn't start, so it wasn't Mick did anything to the car. It was legitimately just whatever electrical phenomenon was going on.
Okay,
I thought Mick fucked it all up.
Me too.
See, I did too.
But I wasn't sure.
So that's me. To me, I think that's a bad decision. Don't make the watches stop working, because then it muddies the waters of what actually happened with the car. Because if you're saying the meteor is what fucked with the car and the watches, then you're telling me it's purely coincidence that Mick stumbled upon them. We find out later it's not coincidence. Like, he's been kind of following them. So I don't like that at all. Like, take the watches. You can leave the car fucked up, but let the watches work. It didn't serve a purpose. There's no reason for it other than just confuse us. Here we are, was this almost 20 years after this movie came out, confused as hell by this part. So anyway, that's all I got. Decent open. Sets the tone.
Hey, just a little fun fact, like there apparently had been no rainfall for 10 years in the area where these backpackers, parked their car before setting off for the crater, but it started raining as soon as the crew arrived. And, director Greg McLean was happy that it rained because it kind of added to the ominous atmosphere of the scene. But that's pretty interesting. That's crazy.
It is crazy. I saw that too, and I ain't buying it, man. 10 years, come on. Look at there's too much greenery on the ground. 10 years. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
I don't know. I just work here.
I ain't buying that shit. Never let facts stand in the way of a good story, though. I get it.
All right. The sun sets and Ben is using his flashlight as a lightsaber now. Ben asks, do you think it means anything, the watches and car not working? He wonders if it's the same kind of thing like the UFO stories he was telling last night. Chrissy says she sees some lights. They realize the lights are coming towards them. Ben and the ladies exit the car, and they're greeted by a man who asks what they're doing out here. Mick is checking the car out and repairing it and asks where they're all headed. Chrissy thinks Mick is a nice guy, and Mick asks if they want the bad news or worse. Either he can tow them to his camp and fix it, or he's got to go, and someone else will drive by eventually. Ben asks Mick if he could tow them into town, but he says he's not heading into town. They want to go north, but I'm going south. Ben asks Mick how much all of it would cost, and Mick jokes around saying he's not going to charge them, as they all share laughs. They all load up in the car as he begins to tow them to his camp. Chrissy says it seems like they've been riding for hours as they all grow frustrated. They make it to a mining pit, and he stops. Mick tells them he has plenty of water, and they sit around a fire and he begins to tell stories of how he killed animals with guns and knives. Ben asks where's he live. He says wherever he pops up, I get around. Mick gives Ben a mean stare, and Ben asks what's he do now. Mick says if he tells him, he'd have to kill him, and they all laugh awkwardly. He says he's doing everyone a favor by taking out a few kangaroos. They're everywhere now. He says the same with tourists, and they all laugh and all burp together until Ben farts. Mick tells them he'll let them know when he gets the car running. Ben and Christy tell Liz to not freak out. Liz walks over to Mick and thanks him again, and she says obviously it'll be best to get going as soon as possible. The three all lay down by the fire to sleep, and Liz tells Ben to move the cooler away from the fire, but they've all passed out. Sun rises and the cooler has melted by the fire. Liz wakes up and is gagged, and hands and feet are bound. She removes the gag from her mouth and realizes she's locked in a shed and begins to try and find something to remove the zip ties from her hands, and she cries. She finds a piece of glass and begins to cut the zip ties and finally gets her hands and feet free. She makes it out the shed and walks briskly over to where the car has been moved to and sees the car has been gutted. She puts some shoes back on and goes to run, but then she hears a scream. She gets to the aluminum shed and hears Christy screaming more. Liz looks into the building through the window and she sees Christy tied to a post all bloody. She begs Mick to not kill her as he aims his rifle at her. He yells bang at her and laughs and kicks her. He shoots at her just to torment her. Christy says if you let me go, I won't tell anyone. Mick says he always uses a rubber as he walks closer to her and grabs his crotch. Mick bites her neck and she calls him a fucking loser. You know how I know you're not going to tell anyone? He asks. All right, Brian, that's the next set of scenes I got. Go ahead.
So Mick approaching, while the three were in the car, I thought was really good. And, the first, I think, real tense moment that we get in the movie. But man, Mick is such a good character. And I think it was such good writing, I think, to basically disarm the kids and in turn us as audience members after that tense scene with him approaching, with him joking around with them, the first time he meets them. Jared does such a good job, and that's what makes his character so damn unsettling. He's not some supernatural zombie or some dream killer or some creepy fuck in the woods, is fucked up the first time that you meet him. He's human, and it seems like just an everyday guy. Some more interesting shots here too in this set of scenes where you're barely seeing anything other than what the spotlights are shining on in the dark, the back of the truck. Now, a nitpick I will say is I did think that it went on a little too long. I mean, it was like the Stanley Kubrick of being fucking towed.
Well, come on.
I get McLean, wanted you to understand how far away it was, but it just went on a little too long for me. It seemed like it just took forever to get there. A cool little tidbit, though, the sign at the entrance of the old mining company site is actually the name of the backpacker murderer, Ivan Milat, spelled backwards as Novatilium, however you say that, backwards mining company. At the campfire scene again, just man, Jarrett, I think does such a good job of being just off. It's just like there's just something off about this guy, and that's all acting. But shit, and bam, as soon as Liz wakes up, boom, tied up. The movie instantly has my attention back. I mean, not that it didn't have my attention at this exact point, but we are 55 minutes into this movie right now, and finally something's happening. You know what I'm saying? But one more thing I liked about what Jarrett does are these like almost, I don't want to say because it's not the right word to say non-linear storylines, but like you started off this movie with Ben from his perspective, and then we go to Liz's perspective, and then obviously later on we swap back to Kirsty and then back to Ben. But it's very interesting. Like I don't know of another movie that does that. So I give the movie props for doing something different.
Yeah, so Mick he's very charming. Great choice there to have it. They're freaked out when they see these lights coming up because they just been talking about aliens and shit, and they don't know if it's a car. It doesn't look like a car. Which, by the way, God, man, how many lights do you need on that jalopy? But
right.
So, but then he gets out of the truck and he's very charming. I mean, he's got a great personality. He's laughing with you, joking, offers to fix your shit. So it's very comforting. Now, I will say though, when they get to the mining site, he was very creepy the whole time. Like I don't know, it's just very unsettling. Now I will say that they missed a great opportunity here to steal a line from another movie that came out in 2005, Dukes of Hazzard. So there's a scene in that where they borrow Cooter's truck. He goes, "What if you need to tow somebody?" And he goes, "Well, if I can't tow him, then I'll just finger him." So he should have said that here. Anyway,
Jeez.
that's in the unrated version of Dukes of Hazzard. It's not in the theatrical release. Don't ask me why I know that. But anyway, so he's very like creepy when they get to the mining site, especially like the way he looks at Ben and just stares him down, kinda, and the whole if I tell you, I'd have to kill you. Like, okay, that's the oldest thing. That's such a dad cliche these days. But when it's coming from someone that still doesn't end up telling you what he does for a living, and he's just taking you to a mining site, and he tells you how he used to mow down kangaroos in the wild, like, yeah, that's a little creepy. Which, by the way, speaking of kangaroos, huge disappointment. There's not a single fucking kangaroo in this movie. Like, how are you going to shoot a movie in Australia and not have a fucking kangaroo? But anyway.
I think at the very end, before he walks away, it does show some shots of kangaroos.
Not enough. Anyway.
Not enough. I will agree with you 100% on that.
So I don't know what the hell was in that quote unquote rainwater, but he must have borrowed it from Bill Cosby's, all I'm saying, because they slept through a lot. And the next thing you know, what the hell? That was okay. So she wakes up and she's zip tied. That was the fastest sunset of all time. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but it shows outside and the sun's like coming up, and then
yes,
nothing changes. Like it doesn't break stride to show us that time has passed. We're watching all this happen in what we feel to be real time. She cuts herself free, opens the window, sticks her head out the window, and it is pitch black dark. So I don't know what's going on in Australia, but I know when you flush the toilets, the water goes in the opposite direction. So apparently the sun goes down faster too. I don't know. But this is a very good set of scenes, though. Like you said, now it's like, oh shit, now we're in it. Like this is nothing like the first hour of this movie. And so, yeah, like it kind of ropes you back in. If you were starting to lose interest, or if you were starting to feel like we're not getting anywhere exciting, it's like now you're on the edge of your seat with, oh shit, he is not a good guy.
I love this Australian accent that you keep slipping into occasionally, Dustin.
Sorry, man, I drank some Fosters earlier.
Rise up lights.
Let's put another shrimp on the barbie. No, I'm just kidding.
Do you have a blooming onion today too?
No, but I would take this one lovely young lady to Outback Steakhouse anytime she wants to go, and she knows who she is.
Oh yeah, I'm sure she listens.
No, she doesn't. Right. She listens about as often as I do, though.
Hey. All right. Liz runs through the car and she sets it on fire. She has a tank blow up by the fire. Mick walks out and blames himself, but then realizes Liz must have gotten out the shed. Liz goes into the shed with Christy, and she sees a mangled corpse. She asks where's Ben and watches Mick putting the fire out. Liz hides, and Mick tells her it took 4 hours to take the parts out, and it all burned up. He pulls out a knife and walks to her and cuts her restraints. He slams her head into the post. Mick shows Christy the last female he had hostage here, and he says he cut her head off. We hear the rifle engage, and Liz aims the rifle at him. Christy laughs, and Mick turns around saying it's not loaded. He yells at her, and she shoots him in the neck area. She goes to shoot him again, but it's not working. She hits him in the back with the gun twice, and she helps Christy up, and they get out the building. They get into his truck, but realize no keys. Liz runs back to Mick to retrieve the keys. She searches his pockets and finally gets them and runs back to the truck. Mick shoots the windshield out, and she drives the truck into the building. She throws it into reverse and drives away. They realize they are being pursued by Mick. Christy yells for her to go. Liz slams brakes, and we see she's almost drove off a cliff as the engine dies. The two exit the truck and put it in neutral and push it over the cliff so he won't see the lights. Christy is laughing now, and Liz says to follow me as they descend the cliff. Another vehicle approaches, and Mick stands above them, and as he looks down and sees his truck at the bottom of the cliff. The two climb back up to steal his car, but he's taking the keys. Liz says she has a set of keys. They have to go back and try and get a car. We see Ben now waking up, and Christy says, wait, she has to stop and catch her breath. Christy cries and begs her to not leave her. What if he catches me again? Liz tells her, if I'm not back in 5 minutes, head that way and you'll find a road eventually. Christy begs her to please hurry. Liz runs back to the mine and looks for a car. She sees articles on Mick's, like this, like a pinup board of all these missing people. She takes his pistol and loads it up. She goes into another shed and drops the pistol down this shaft. She climbs down the ladder but falls, and at the bottom she sees all kinds of dead bodies. She climbs back up and runs away. She goes into another metal building and sees several cars stashed away, and she calls for Ben. She sees all of Mick's clothes and passports and documents of all of Mick's victims. She finds Ben's knife and begins to watch some videos on a camcorder of another family being towed away by Mick. The rainwater Mick gave them was poison. She watches another camcorder and realizes it's Ben's. They see Mick's truck in the background at the gas station they stopped at Emu Creek. And the next set of scenes are the ending. Go ahead, Brian.
So I guess you can blame Terrifier for this, but when I saw Kirsty tied up to be tortured, I thought, oh shit, this is about to get really bad. But I was pleasantly surprised. And that's another reason why I think this movie got a bad rap for torture porn. I don't get that. I mean, there are very little parts of even gore, but the majority of this is not the gore porn. That it's the characters' responses to what's going on around them. And basically, what it doesn't show you, it lets your mind fill in those gaps, like we've talked about before. I mean, you didn't see Kirsty get raped, but you feel like how badly she was tortured thanks to Kirsty Marassi's performance. She was amazing. And at one point, there's a fun fact where during the shooting of this scene, director McLean wanted to get a POV shot, so he cleared the crew out of the shed and only left the two actors inside. When he called action, they began, doing the scene. But after a minute, McLean became convinced that Jarrett had gone too far and really hurt because Marassi's cries for help were genuine. He burst into the shed only to find both actors were apparently stunned at the disruption. I mean, that's how damn good Marassi's performance was here. And I mean, you can see it. Now, from a story standpoint, I understand why you don't have Liz kill Mick, right off the bat here while he's laying there. But from a viewer standpoint, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you don't even hit him in the head with that gun. Like, she just like gave him a few, gut shots or like jabs, basically. And why are you just sitting there laughing, revving up the engine, and not driving away? I mean, but my favorite of all that is that Mick is just okay after being shot in the fucking neck. I mean, he's okay. Okay.
He's Australian.
I guess so. A lot of fucking outback strength. There was a lot of shaking my head. Let's just say that. I have to admit, my stupid American in me came out when Liz was putting Christy in the car because I was like, "What the fuck are you doing? She's in no condition to be driving." But then I realized that's the wrong side, son. You're in the outback. But I was just let down with this set of scenes a little bit. I think the buildup was so much that I couldn't help but be let down a little bit here. The moment between Liz and Christy, I think, with her not wanting Liz to leave her, was very well acted scene. But I didn't feel like it was really earned as much. Not that I wanted to see them tortured or anything, but it was almost all happened almost so quickly that I didn't personally feel like that moment was earned. I guess that's all. There was like you were talking about with the sunset, there feels like there was a lot of time jumps, but it didn't like let you know that there were a lot of time jumps. Right. And so you felt like this all happened really quickly, although I know it took place over a longer period of time than it let on. By the way, Liz, are you fucking kidding me? You told old girl who's bleeding out, wait 5 minutes. And you're spending like half an hour watching fucking home videos, movies, checking shit out. I would drive me crazy. Go ahead, Dustin.
No, man. Okay, first of all, I don't know why, but that popped me. I laughed so hard, dude. She's in no condition to drive. Like, I just picture her like, listen, I know you fucked up, but I can't drive right now. I've had too much of this poison water. So, like, that's just funny. This is the worst escape of all time. Like, I'm so baffled at these dumbasses because you got you got out. And then, okay, it's very tense. It does a good job of building tension and everything, but it's just everything about it is a head scratcher, decision-making wise. Now, we're the audience, so it's easy to say what we would do, but we're not in the moment. So I get that part, but no, what the fuck, like you said, what the fuck are you doing wasting time watching these home videos When your girl's bleeding out in the outback, you told her to wait 5 minutes, and you're spending 10 minutes watching videos.
Easily.
I hated that, and I hated how she's rummaging around through shit and looking over. And I really hate, maybe Zombieland has tainted me, but you always got to give a double tap. I'm not even talking about zombies. You shot him, but where did you shoot him? So I'm gonna look where I shot him, and I see that looked like it went through his neck. I'm not trusting that to kill him. And so I'm going to give him a double tap, shoot him again. If you don't have another gun, get something to beat his head in. But whatever, okay, you can forgive it. One last thing, and I'll pass it back to you, Nico. But did it bother y'all that she saw his truck in the Ben's footage? It bothered me. Like, it's a little too on the nose.
It bothered me that it paused exactly right on it. Like,
yeah,
maybe not that she saw it and then rewound it or something, like you'd see.
Yeah.
Like, oh shit. No, it was like stopped right on it.
It's a little too convenient. And so it's like, I don't know. I would rather them, obviously he knew that they were there because he may or may not have fucked with their car at Wolf Creek Crater. But, it's just that along with the time jumps really irritate me in this set of scenes. Like how you said that you have no idea how much time is actually passing because they didn't do a good job. Everything's felt so fluid. So other than that, I mean, it's a good set of scenes tension wise, but it definitely has its flaws.
All right, here's the ending. Liz frustrates me. She frustrates me a lot. So I kicked off this set of scenes with Liz finally decides to try and find a car to drive and finally gets it crunk up. She's suddenly stabbed in the back and falls to the floor. She tries to pull out Ben's little knife, and he says, "That's not a knife." Mick now cuts some of her fingers off and picks her up and punches her. "That's for wrecking me truck, bitch." He says this little procedure is putting a head on a stick. Once your spine is severed, that's all you are, is a head on a stick. He asks about Christy now. Christy wakes up and calls for Liz. Christy gets up and begins to run for help. Christy makes it to a road and begins running. She stops along the side of the road to catch her breath. She sees a car approaching and she stands up and begins to flag the driver down. He asks what happened and she falls to the ground. She gets in the backseat and he gets her a blanket and water from the trunk. We hear gunshots and the old man falls to the ground dead. Christy sits up and we see a scope aimed right on her. She gets in the driver's seat and realizes no keys. She sees a car flying towards her. Mick parks in the middle of the road and waits on Christy to drive off and chases after her. Mick hawks her down pretty quickly and gets beside her and mocks her. She bumps his car and knocks him off the road. She laughs and he gets his rifle out and he shoots the tire out, causing her to crash. Mick pulls up beside her with the rifle and watches her climb out the car. She gets on her knees and he shoots her. He walks to her and shoots her again. Mick loads Christy's body into the trunk beside the old man's body. Mick burns the old man's car up. We see Ben has been hung up crucifix style, and he sees other men who shared similar fates as him, who had their lower bodies eaten by these fierce dogs. Ben gets his arms off the nails and slides out the restraints. He tourniquets his arms to stop the bleeding and wanders into the outback. He begins to yell for help and is on his knees, now crying. Ben is in the fetal position, lying down. Some Germans find him along the road and escort him to Kalbari. He's air flighted now by paramedics. Despite several major police searches, no trace of Liz Hunter or Christy Earle has ever been found. Early investigations into the case were disorganized, hampered by confusion over the location of the crimes. A lack of physical evidence and the alleged unreliability of the only witness. After 4 months in police custody, Ben Mitchell was later cleared of all suspicions. He currently lives in South Australia. We now see Mick walking into the sunset as the film ends. All right, Brian, what'd you think?
I actually liked the ending. It was different. It took some chances, and I liked that. Like I said earlier, you follow Liz this whole time, and then bam, like out of nowhere, she's stabbed. It just so happens to be, it bothered me that he just so happened to be in the right car. Like that was something I was like, wait, what? How did he know which car that she was going to try to get? But I don't know anyway. I loved the Dundee reference though, again with the knife. Then we swap back to Kirsty's perspective, and then we get the ending with Ben. How funny would it have been if Ben? How funny would it have been? That was, threw me off there. Sorry. If like you show him getting like hauled into the hospital, and then one of the nurses was Mick. I don't know, just shit. Actually, it reminded me like the Joker or something. But so there's no final girl or final
Wait,
guy.
would Mick have been dressed like a female nurse like Joker
Yeah,
was? And Harvey
yeah,
Dent
why not?
didn't even realize it was Joker until he took the mask off.
That's funny. That's
Nico
the
knows
funniest
what we're talking about.
um, so yeah, like I was saying, there's no final girl or final guy, like in the whole usual sense of the word. There's no big final fight scene between the survivor and the killer. It's different, and I respect that. There were a lot of things I read that called this movie like not original, and I disagree with that. To me, like him waking up, freeing himself, that whole thing just feels more real and less, I guess, formulaic would be the word. Um, but with that said, it only goes so far to me, and to me again, this set of scenes just wasn't the climax that I guess I was expecting after such a good build up to begin with. And I really do think that yeah, they drag on a little bit, but they give such good character development, and I feel like that they just rush through the rest of the movie. So that's kind of where I am with it.
I can definitely agree with that. So first of all, this set of scenes is creepy as hell. That he's just sitting in the back seat there, like in the shadows, and you can see his creepy smile. Like I love that. But again, like you said, how did he know what car she was going to get in? Like, when did he get in the car? I don't know. That logistic wise, you kind of have to suspend your disbelief there, but it still made for a very good, well done scene because stabbing her through the seat, she falls out,
Yeah.
pulling the knife, and then we get the Crocodile Dundee callback. Great use of that line there because you're right, she had a fucking Swiss Army knife and he had a damn murder weapon. And then just absolutely brutal death, saying calling her a head on a stick and severing her spine. Like that's brutal. Holy shit. Another big gripe with the movie, man. Good Samaritan didn't deserve that. That's just a good old man trying to help a poor lass. The Shayla's walking down the highway, and he didn't deserve it. He got his shit splattered all over his own back glass. But holy shit, what a heel move for Mick to just like mock her and toy with her as they're riding side by side down the road. And then
Right.
like that shit was, I don't know, that made me laugh a little bit. But you can almost sense great job of acting there because when he killed her, because you could sense that he was frustrated. That's not how he wanted to kill her. He didn't get to do it on his own terms. It seemed like he was genuinely frustrated that she's this close to getting away and he's got to do it like this. So I don't know. I really thought that was very well done. And then yeah, it's kind of weird that Ben is the survivor. Like you said, I'm not calling him a final guy. He's survived. That's all. So interesting choice there. I'm not mad at it. It's very different. I'm glad, kind of glad we didn't get that final showdown because
Me too.
if you would have, then I don't know. It just could have kind of would have made the whole story convoluted. I like the fact that we never know what happened. So anyway, it's a decent ending, but it does feel rushed compared to how much time we spent in the first hour of the movie. Like I feel like this last 10 minutes was just like boom, bam, there you go, get out. So.
All right, guys. Any more final thoughts before we jump into our social media comments and questions? All right, let's do Twitter first. Big fan of the show, Kevin Scanlon. He commented, I felt so uncomfortable watching this movie. I'm not sure I could watch this one again. John Jarrett played his role too well. I agree. He was super creepy. Facebook,
Yeah.
Missy Hutchinson Wall, the laugh, scariest thing in the movie. And Eric Doolittle commented, very underrated movie, beautifully shot with a great villain. I think Crocodile Dundee could take him, though.
Beautifully shot. Absolutely.
It was beautifully shot. Our Instagram, we got quite a few comments on here. Really appreciate that. Fairy Chick commented, great movie, so brutal, and that head on a stick scene. Holy shit. A move Ivan Milat actually used. This movie was all the talk when released in Australia. We all avoided going near that crater. I'm actually a huge fan of the TV series, not so much the second movie. Craziest thing was seeing Mick portrayed by a guy who every Friday night was teaching us how to plant flowers in our backyards. Look forward to hearing your review. Hey, I appreciate that. I
That's
noticed
awesome.
something on our Instagrams. We got a lot of foreign comments, so I think that's awesome. Uh, Alex1 commented, never even heard of it. Looks like it might be on Amazon Prime. I guess I've got my evening planned out now. Thanks, gents. And everyone who's
Damn.
listening, this movie is free on Prime, Tubi, and Vudu. So definitely go check it out.
Wait, this is free on Prime? Son of a bitch. I watched this with advertisements on Tubi.
Well, it had advertisements on Prime as well.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
But director Terrence McLeod commented, overall, the movie was really good, but I still have a few issues with it. First off, the first half of the movie seemed like it took 4 hours to get through. Secondly, I get the fact that she chose to go back to find their male friend, but you know that there is a crazy killer on the property that you still chose to go back to and still feel the need to scream uncontrollably once you found the barn with the other bodies. You think he heard me? Lastly, anybody know what version of sniper rifle guy must have been shooting to hit that chick at about 200 yards down the road? All in all, I really enjoy the movies that are as simple as a crazy fucker that just wants to kill people. Badass. Hey, sometimes simple is the best.
In her defense, I think she did say, "Oh fuck, old Ben." I think she was just going back looking for a car. I don't really think she was going back looking for him.
uh, God, Liz annoyed the shit out of me once shit started popping off. Mitch RT93 commented, always love this flick. Brutal, effective, and authentic feeling. Pumped for the review. Mark, appreciate the comment, man. Mark_Hef, great movie. Not 1 ounce of hope in it. Brutal, grim, and it's great. Love the show, lads. Keep up the amazing pod. See, I think he's from Ireland. The comment above was from over in Europe as well. Don't go out there, it's just worldwide, like
Let's
Pitbull, Mr.
go.
Worldwide.
Dale.
J Hambrick 88. This is the last comment. I remember watching this when it came out, and I didn't much care for it then, but I was 10. LOL. Hopefully, my perspective changes after this rewatch. Yeah, I think your opinion will definitely change, brother.
Yeah, I don't know many 10-year-olds that would feel comfortable and just fuzzy inside watching this. So it's probably you're normal.
And that's it for social media. If y'all have any fun facts or whatever, y'all go ahead.
Go ahead, Dustin.
Okay, I got a couple here. So even though writer-director Greg McLean did not write the role of Mick for anyone in particular, John Jarratt was the first and only actor to audition for the part. Jarratt was well known in Australia at the time as the host of a gardening show, but he was also a recognized actor. McLean invited Jarratt to audition after he had seen him in a play called Dead Heart. Ironically, Jarratt was only working as a replacement for the regular star Brian Brown, who was ill the night McLean attended. So that's kind of cool that how he just kind of fate backed into this role.
Right.
This is one of Quentin Tarantino's favorite horror movies, which is not surprising because he's a pretty fucked up individual. Shout out to my fellow Knoxvillian. Not surprising, this is included in Roger Ebert's most hated list. The reason I say not surprising is because if you know anything about Roger Ebert, is he hates slashers, he hates horror movies unless it's like a psychological thriller. He'll give it a decent score, but he does not like this kind of movie, so that was not shocking. So although in the advertising for the film, it claims that this was based on true events, it's not entirely accurate. So it was loosely influenced by the Ivan Milat and Bradley John Murdoch cases, but it wasn't based on any one event. And all 4 of the principal characters were completely fictitious. And the last thing I have here is, since Money Mike is not here to discuss the budgetary matters, I will do so. The movie had an estimated budget of $1 million. Opening weekend did $2.8 million. So boom, made its money back in one weekend. And worldwide gross is over $30 million. It's $30,894,796. So
Okay.
pretty good return on investment there.
I only have a couple real quick. Apparently, unbeknown to the crew, the abandoned mine where they chose to film had actually been a site of a real-life murder of a woman. The filming prompted a protest from locals who erroneously thought that the film was about those events. And the last thing was that the film was shot entirely chronologically, which, is very rare in film.
That is rare.
Alrighty, let's jump into our favorite kill, least favorite kill in the rating. Dustin, I'm gonna go first tonight. I'll just kick us off. Favorite kill, I chose Liz. her her character made so many bad decisions, and the head on a stick. Man, that scene was terrifying. That scene was great. I love that scene. Uh, Terrible way to die. Least favorite kill: the slow ass 45-minute beginning of the movie. Just kidding. It's actually the old man shot by the road for no reason. I felt bad for that guy. Rating: I think just like Hostel, this is a movie of a tale of two halves. First half, sorry to say it again, but it was very slow and painful to get through. I understand you want character development, but this was not it for me, Chief. Second half is very entertaining. Mick is terrifying and an excellent villain. Liz is incredibly frustrating. The gore is top notch, and just like Hostel, it feels real, which makes this terrifying. I've been getting into true crime a lot, so I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but movies that feel real are scarier to me. They're just scarier to me, which is a big benefit for this. But overall, I gave this movie a 6.5. The incredibly slow open and Liz being terrible are my two main cons. Oh, and Christie's terrible laugh. That laugh annoyed the shit out of me.
Jeez.
But this movie's probably about an 8.5 or 9 if the first half is just a little bit quicker for me.
Okay. I'll go ahead and go, Dustin, so you can wrap it up on your own movie.
Okay.
I read this is a statement, and I believe it was Hollinger that said it, but that this movie was a symbolic representation of the unforgiving Australian outback, where if unprepared, it will take your life. Where Mick is obviously basically the outback. I can respect that, and I feel it had like a great build up, but the payoff to me wasn't what I was expecting or I would hoped. I really hoped it would be. My favorite kill is Liz. My least favorite kill is Christy, actually. And I gave this movie a flat 6.
Okay. So I went with the same kills as Nico. Favorite kill was Liz, just because how brutal it was and how terrifying it was. I thought that was very well done. Least favorite kill was the Good Samaritan. Like, he's just trying to be a good person. He sees a girl bleeding running down the road. He didn't deserve this. He didn't sign up for this shit. But as far as the movie goes, like I said, I think it's underrated. I don't think it's great by any stretch of imagination. There's pacing problems with the first half compared to the second half. There's time, like I said, they don't really do a good job of conveying how much time has passed when I think they should. There's some things that are unexplained as far as the watch is not working. Was it Mick that fucked with the truck then if their watches stopped working, or was it just the meteor site? The inconvenience or how convenient it was that Mick's truck was in the footage. The dickheads at the table making all the sexist comments. Like, there's things that are wrong with the movie, so it detracts from the score a little bit. But overall, for the period it came out, and for the fact that listen, this is, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, to this day, I could be wrong, this was the highest grossing Australian movie premiere. Hang on, let me phrase this right. This movie did more on opening weekend in Australia than any other Australian movie to date, I believe, at the box office. So that speaks volumes. I mean, it's a good movie. Now, I will say another funny thing is the very open, like before we get to the scene, the cards where it's telling you this is based on true event and everything, all the production companies that are involved. I think it was Family Guy did a funny thing, like they were showing a movie and you never knew when the movie was actually starting because all the production companies are involved. Their shit looked like it was the start of a movie. There must have been 13, 14 different production companies or whatever advertised at the beginning of this film. I thought that was a little bit excessive there. But overall, I like the movie enough to give it a 7. So that takes our score, it balances us 3 out to a 6.5. IMDb has it as a 6.2 with 72,000 votes. Not a lot of votes on that, but we're pretty spot on.
Okay.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's like we know what we're doing sometimes. I enjoyed the rewatch. I definitely have a higher opinion of it the second time than I did the first time. First time I was like, God, I hope we never do this movie.
I remember you saying that, actually. I remember you saying that. I told you guys like a long time ago, we shared the list of movies that we were looking forward to reviewing. And I think it was you that said that just kind of shit on it. You weren't looking forward to it. So I'm glad you came around a little bit.
I think Mick was great. I mean, like we said in our mailbag episode, one of my 3 elements of a horror movie I want is a good portrayal by the villain. And We damn sure got that in this movie, so I can't be mad at it. Liz just annoyed the hell. You shot the man, and then you. And what was those hits with a gun? What was that?
Jabbed him in the stomach a few times.
She looked like she was hitting him like a softball, like those little toys that kids play with, the little plastic bats. I was like, oh my god. But anywho, let's shout out our blood donors, and we'll announce our next theme. And just want to reiterate it one more time. Times are very tough right now economically for all of us. So a big thank you to all of our blood donors. It really helps us out and takes a big burden off of us. And let's shout out our camper level reoccurring. That's Clayton J, Nina, Michelle Mirza, Andrew Ferguson, Carrie Adams, the Horror Movie Crew podcast, Alex Seligson, Eric Doolittle, and Sean Irwin. Our camp counselor reoccurring are Hunter Nelson, Dennis Kennedy, Edwin Hernandez Gunn, Joe Swinford, Jennifer Davis from the Too Close to Home podcast, Karen, Heather Smith, and Kylie Denise, who is from Australia, which is cool. And our newest legendary blood donor and one of our biggest fans, Mr. Kevin Scanlon. Thank you all so much for your blood donor, your financial contributions. It really does mean a lot to us. We really appreciate it. And Brian, you want to go ahead and the next theme month is my pick. I chose reboot/remake month. And Brian, you want to announce your pick, brother?
Yeah, so way back in episode 8, we reviewed, and I believe most of us shit on the original Amityville Horror. I said then, and I still stand by it, that the 2005 remake of the Amityville Horror is the best of all the Amityville movies. It's superior in every way. Ryan Reynolds, Melissa George, even Chloe Grace Moretz is in it. Shout out Zombieland. No, what was the movie she was in? The superhero movie with Nicolas Cage and
Kick-Ass.
Kick-Ass. Thank you, Lord Almighty. Anyway, I'm going with 2005's The Amityville Horror.
Nice. Looking forward to it. Any final thoughts before we just get out of here? Just want to thank all our fans and listeners. I really appreciate it. It felt good to get behind the mic again and review a movie. We took last week off. Just we were all a little tired from Mike's wedding. We all got a lot of stuff going on, but we appreciate all the support, all the comments, all the questions, all the new ratings we've been getting. We really appreciate it, and y'all have a good one. Just want to remind everybody.